Hello and welcome back to Future Frontiers video tutorial number 7. This will be your last tutorial for the coaching program, but remember you'll still have the workshops and graduation with your pupils later on. So, we've gone through the journey of helping your pupils identify what they're interested in, research those interests and what careers relate to them, speak to different people to find out more, and start to build a plan to actually get there. In this session, having done the academic plan and worked out what grades your pupils might need to get to their top career, we're going to start looking at what's called a WHOOP target, making an actionable plan where they can actually take some positive steps towards getting better in those subjects they need to improve in. So you'll see in the coach handbook the different elements that we've ticked and we've gone through. In the last video and in the last session, hopefully you completed the academic plan, setting those academic benchmarks. In this video and in the final session, we're going to be looking at the WHOOP targets, so creating accountable targets that your pupils can stick to, making a bit of a plan for the follow-up workshops, so how they can build in some long-term accountability, measuring their impact, and also potentially swapping pupils to speak to a different coach and tell them about what their top career is. So, in the last session, as I said, we completed the academic plan with this example here of Alicia, choosing engineering and going for the university route. We're now going to relate that to the WHOOP targets, and so how your pupils can take clear steps to actually get there. In the pupil handbook, again, it's ticked off here. WHOOP targets, and then planning for workshop, and potentially presenting to another coach and getting the impact survey done online. So, in your coach handbooks, you'll see that there is clear guidance for WHOOP targets. Now, the WHOOP targets stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. And the whole point, as it says here, is to get your students to link positive thinking, so believing that they can actually achieve their goal, with a realistic action plan, which is really specific. So in this instance, we've got to make sure we've got 2 subjects where there are 2 focus areas we can concentrate on. And those are the 2 subjects that we've written at the bottom of the page in our academic plan. These then relate to these 2 areas here, number 1 and number 2, when we're doing the wish obstacle, outcome obstacle plan. So some examples of where you could make a plan or some things that your pupil could focus on. Regular homework, obviously having a conversation with them about how they currently do their homework is really important. Maybe making a revision plan about the subjects or focus areas they find difficult, and then seeking other learning opportunities or further help, potentially from their teacher. Now, these are only 3 examples. Obviously, you can have that discussion with your pupils and find out where they want to focus a bit further. In your pupil handbook, it's really clearly outlined what they need to focus on. Here it says they need to, when they're making their wish, make sure it's meaningful. And it says that they need to see it's feasible, challenging, and summarized in 3 to 6 words. I would say that it can go from 3 to 10, but try and keep it concise. That's the point. So the wish, something like, I want to achieve at least a 4 in my next maths test. The outcome, again, it's something that they feel emotionally, so really visualizing it. And you can see here it says how they can imagine it fully, and if they can't imagine it, to close their eyes and think of what it feels like to achieve that best possible outcome. So it might be something like being really proud. The obstacle in this case might be that they find it difficult, they get distracted, they don't understand a certain subject. So again, writing that down and making sure it's pretty concise and why they're always finding that particular aspect difficult. Now the plan is really important to write out in this format. If then. So if they say, they find their home too noisy to revise, then they will stay at school for an hour afterwards to complete their revision in peace. So it's clearly, if this is the case, then this is what I'm going to do about it. And it just allows them to remain accountable towards that particular target and goal. Now remember, you need to fill in the WHOOP targets for each pupil at this link at the bottom of the page. You can also find that on the pupil portal through the Future Frontiers website. Okay, so let's have a look at how this might actually translate. So here with this example again of Alicia, we've got all of her grades and the 2 subject areas and focus areas, maths and science at the bottom. These 2. So they relate up into this section in the WHOOP target on the back of the academic plan. So for this example, I've kind of already gone through it a little bit. With science, the wish was to score at least a 4 in the next practical to help her on the way to achieving that top grade she needs for engineering. The outcome is to feel more confident and prove their teacher that they can follow instructions. The obstacle is they find it difficult to follow the practical instructions and get embarrassed when everyone else knows what to do. You could probably shorten that a little bit, but it's an emotional thing. And then the plan is, if I don't understand, then I will ask the teacher to explain it to me one-to-one after the class. So it's a really simple thing that you can hold them accountable to, and you can say, listen, have you done that in your next session? With maths, the wish was to get the first merit points for the next class, so achieving a good standard of behavior and concentration and focus and engagement. The outcome, to feel proud and show the teacher and the form teacher that to show their mum and their form teacher that they are focused and they can concentrate in that class. The obstacle, always messing around with a particular friend. And so again, the plan, if my friend is distracting me, I'll ask the teacher if I can sit in a different seat. So it's really clear, really focused. Now afterwards, you get a chance to think about how this might be reviewed. But this is something that we'll come to when we think about planning for the workshop, which is the next activity you'll do in this session. So again, on the page 46 of the Coach Handbook, it shows really clearly what it involves planning for the workshops. So the first thing you've got to think about is, how are you going to review these WOOP targets? Does a fortnightly review of the WOOP targets or WOOP goals make sense? Should they be checking a pair? Should they be reflecting on their progress at certain times? Again, obviously these are just examples, but you can think of any, and your pupils will probably come up with some creative ways to hold themselves accountable. In the pupil handbook on page 34, you get them to think about it. Has it been hard to stick to? If it has, why? Do they need to adjust the plans or the goals? And what will they tell their coach when they meet at the workshops? And then there's a space for them to actually write down how they review those different targets that they've set. And then once they've written them down, to write some notes on their progress once they've been reviewed. So this is going to be thought about for when they come back to the workshops and they see you again after a bit of time. Now, towards the end of the session, you've got to make sure that you get the impact evaluation done with your pupils. It's really simple. You can either follow this link, which is in the Coach Handbook, bit.ly/EOP. And it also has a link in the Pupil Handbook, which can just go through the Future Frontiers Pupil Portal. So either one of those, and make sure that your pupils fill those out really honestly. Now, if you're lucky enough to have got through all of that, set the WOOP targets, done the impact evaluation, you'll then have time potentially to do the extension activity. Now, this activity is just to get your pupils to present their top career to another coach. Really simple for this. As a coach, you need to prepare your pupils for speaking to someone else. So get them to think about the key information and then listen to another set of pupils present to you. In the Pupil Handbook, it's laid out like this, so the pupils know that they need to explain what matters to them, what motivates them, show the careers they've found that match that motivation, describe the top career they've chosen to this other coach, then explain their academic plan and their WOOP goals and their WOOP targets, and then go back and review the Future Frontiers goals that they set on the first day. Now, hopefully you get to that stage, and hopefully it's been really beneficial. We'll have another video tutorial before the workshop, but until then, best of luck for this session.